Jon Scheyer and the Duke basketball coaching staff, they just can't stop. Why stop recruiting when you're so good at it? Sebastian Wilkins is the newest Duke Blue Devil.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. So great to have you here with us today on Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. Today, we're going to focus a whole lot about Sebastian Wilkins, the newest commit for Duke basketball. We'll break down his game and a couple of other things with our good friend Jordan Mann from the Big J and Little J show, who's going to join us on the program today. I hope that everyone had an enjoyable Memorial Day weekend and holiday, got to spend some time with friends and family. And as you start a new week, we want to be the resource for you, talking all things Duke athletics. So if you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Also, you can watch our show each and every day on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share these videos with your friends. Like them. Comment down below. Let us know if you're an everydayer. A special shout out to all of our everydayers that we've got out there. And we want to continue seeing all the love. So thanks for your support as always. Without further ado, here he is. The aforementioned J-Man is back with me once again. And Jordan, hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoyed the long weekend. And I know that we really enjoy when Duke continues to get top recruits, man.
Yeah, dude. Look, Memorial Day weekend, 3-day weekend, and then great news for Duke. Obviously, we talked a little bit of Sebastian last episode. On, and then I did the Dame Sarr player breakdown this weekend as well. So yeah, Sebastian Wilkins, I'll have a player breakdown for him early this week. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I'm ready to talk some more Sebastian because this Memorial Day, I watched a lot of Sebastian. I was very impressed with what I saw. I had very little expectation, I'll be honest with you, because I didn't really know what to expect. And some of the highlights I saw just wowed me.
Yeah, no kidding. You had some thoughts that you shared on X at J-Man's Takes. Then you've got the video breakdowns that we'll get to in just a moment for Sarr in particular. I want to get to Wilkins as well. But how about this? 5 freshmen now are going to join Duke's team for next season. Jon Scheyer, once again, continues to just amaze everybody with the recruiting classes that he's able to put together. We have the #1 recruiting class again, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, look, the recruiting class Scheyer puts together is insane. He's done it year in, year out. And like I said before, even when he was an assistant, everybody was praising Jon Scheyer as being the recruiter for K to land the big-time names that we saw Duke have in that time. And ever since him being the head coach, he's really found a rhythm in the last 2 recruiting classes, with obviously Cooper Flagg being what he was and being just as good as advertised.
Yeah.
The #1 pick in the draft, and seeing the progression, yes, he was really talented coming into Duke, but to see the player development with him, with that shot, his shot was more to the side. He shot probably high 20% from 3 to start the year. He fixed it around December and shot 40+% the rest of the year from 3. That's credit to Duke and their staff of having a talented projected #1 pick and, letting him go to his potential. And now you have Cam Boozer, who, look, he'll have some freshman hiccups here and there, but Duke will prove that they can progress these high talented 5 stars to be legit NBA prospects like they were with Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, what do they say? Proof is in the pudding, and you keep doing it time in and time out. I mean, it's really impressive what you're able to do from the recruiting standpoint. What's been awesome is that in each of these commitments, so many of the players are pointing to these guys that we're talking about, are pointing to Cooper Flagg, or just guys that Scheyer has been on staff for, developing, getting better, the connections that he's got with Jason Tatum and him taking over the NBA. That's really cool to hear that is true. It's something we're talking about, but it's obviously the message that's being sent to these high school players as well as they're being recruited.
Yeah, I mean, Dame Sarr, like we talked about too. Jabari Parker was his teammate at FC Barcelona, and Bari came to Duke, and there's a relationship there already.
Yep.
And he was the #2 pick in his draft, and so it's just these kids now, they see, like you said, the proof is in the pudding with Duke and what they can be at the next level. And Jabari Parker, unfortunately for him, he just had major knee injuries early in his career. But if he did not have that, he would still be in the league and be a multi-year all-star, because he is now one of the most underrated players to ever play at Duke, because he was so dominant, and that team obviously was upset in the first round. But if you go back and put on the film of Barry at Duke, you're like, this guy was 17, 18 years old at Duke. Like, he played like he was 25 against 18-year-olds.
So Sebastian Wilkins is the newest Blue Devil who commits over the weekend. He was on a live 247 sports show with Adam Finkelstein breaking down his commitment. And ultimately, he decides that he wants to play basketball at Duke for this year. He was the class of 2026, has reclassed to come in 2025. At one point, he had been a part of this 2025 class before going back and forth. This is just never going to go away, is it, man? Like, players going into their freshman year of high, let me do 8th grade again, and then I'll get after it. Glad to see Sebastian Wilkins rejoin his original class.
Yeah, look, when I was playing ball, JJ, everybody wanted to have that extra year back. So it'd be a sophomore in high school, and they'd reclass to be a freshman so they could try and get that extra offer to go from low D3 to mid D3. It's like, just go Division III. Like, you don't need to hold yourself back and do 5 years at a private school to go to a Division III school. Now you got kids. Obviously, we've seen it in the past already, but it always amazes me to see a kid that's going to skip an extra year. It's like, whoa, I'm accustomed to seeing dudes, like I said, you're 20 going to high school prom. You reclass.
Something's not adding up here.
Yeah, like I grew up in the wrong generation where these young bucks like, give me to college, but I don't blame them. All this NIL money being thrown around, I would try and go to college at 13 years old if I was a product.
There you go. So Sebastian Wilkins, by way of Brewster Academy, originally from Wolfboro, New Hampshire, coming south to Durham to play for Duke, standing in at 6'8", 215. 247 has him listed as a power forward. What are kind of your early takeaways that you see in his game?
That's what shocked me when I talked about like watching his tape, because thought I was putting on a tape for a power forward, and this dude is not a power forward. He is he's a 3. He's a small forward that plays power forward with like what he can bring to the table. His ball handling, now his shot making. I think I read somewhere, I think it was a 24/7 guy, a scout, that said he shot 30% from 3 his last year at Brewster this past season. But I think AAU the summer before, he shot 40%. And so I think you will see a better 3-point shooting player when he's at Duke. Now his role, we'll get to that later, but like, I think the shot, like the way he shoots the ball, it looks pretty clean to where I think I would live with him shooting threes. But his athleticism, dude, like the video I posted on my Twitter at J-Man's Takes was he's guarding a double screen and he just blows up the first screen, steals the ball, does a pick 6, and basically has the Zion dunk against UNC in the AC championship game where he jumps almost equivalent to the side of the free throw line. And I'm like, whoa, this kid's different. So like, he is listed as a power forward. I would view him as a 4/3. And I want to talk about this real quick, JJ. Speaking of Sarr and him, Duke obviously had like the 3 holes, like 3 empty spots on the roster with Cedric Howard staying in the draft.
Yeah.
Where like Duke needs a guard, a forward, and a big man. Well, you got 2 guys where Sarr is now going to be a forward/point guard, who I think is going to be a point guard. And then you have a guy like Sebastian Wilkins, who is a power forward, is a big man, but can also play some 3. So you got 2 guys now that can fill those 3 empty spots. And so I think Sebastian Wilkins will be interesting for sure with Duke.
Yeah, and one of the bigger questions is how much of Sebastian Wilkins do we actually get to see this first year, right? Like, I think there's a very large likelihood that he doesn't play a whole lot as a freshman, but still a lot to build on and still could be a big-time impact player for Duke as his career continues to move forward. Let's talk about that angle and a little bit more about Sarr in particular when Locked On Blue Devils continues in a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, I realized just how much I was spending on things like food delivery. Now I'm able to budget smarter and save a whole lot more. You could do the same. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code Locked On College for half off your first year. Monarch Money is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, Jordan Mann's here with us today. We're talking Duke basketball, and Sebastian Wilkins is the newest player to commit to Duke. We know also that Cedric Coward is going to stay in the draft. He will not play college basketball for the Blue Devils. Looking at Wilkins being kind of this newest scholarship piece for Duke and reclassing into the class of 2025, what we were talking about at the very end there, Jordan, it's a realistic possibility that he actually doesn't see the floor a whole lot this year, and that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, surely the conversations he had with Scheyer and the staff made him comfortable enough to realize, like, whatever his role will be this year, his role will be significantly increased next season. Yeah. And so with that being said, like, I think there is a window of opportunity for him to play like at like a 8 to 10 minutes per game type of guy his freshman year, which would be, a pretty sweet spot for him, where he's coming to a team that, already has an established group. But I just think there's things that he can do that I'm like, you know what? Like, if he can show that consistently in Duke practices, then it'd be hard to keep him off the floor where he play 8 to 10 minutes, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're going to get these opportunities in practice to test yourself each and every day against the top-ranked recruiting class, against really strong returning players that are in the post, and Malik Brown and Pat Gongba, just the bodies that Duke's got there, and then just the time that you will get in games throughout the course of the season, obviously sold him enough to want to make the decision to play for Duke, not play for Maryland. Fun to have that old ACC rivalry going at it in the recruiting front for this one here, and then we'll see how Sebastian Wilkins benefits. When you look at him as the player, though, you do believe he could be someone we see a little bit more out on the wing versus in the post, or what does that look like to you?
Yeah, like he just he's comfortable with the ball, like on a string. Like him, he had shots where he's shooting off the dribble. There was one that was like end of a shot clock where dude's in his grill and he just creates separation on a little a sidestep three in his butter. And I'm like, what? I thought this dude was a power forward. And like like I said, his player breakdown is coming, but his player breakdown would be the one where I'm like, it sounds like I am just fangirling, like I'm watching like primetime John Wall on a Hoop Mixtape, because I had no expectations to what I was going to see. And so seeing what he was doing, and I had to keep telling myself, like, this is Montverde that he's playing. This is like ranked high school teams. I was just thinking, like, sometimes when he was shooting these shots, JJ, I'm like, oh, he's just playing like local Eastern Alamance where I went to high school. No, he's playing like nationally ranked high school teams. So I like his, like I said, I like his potential at Duke. This freshman year, we'll see what that is. But like, you got to be excited for what he could possibly bring his sophomore year and plus at Duke. He's really going to be. He's got the goods. He's got to be consistent with it.
So you don't know if we're expecting, David McClure or Lance Thomas, Javin DeLaurier, Theo John in the post, and the next thing you know, this guy's got some ball handling skills to him.
Yeah, he's got ball handling. He's doing like dribble pull-ups, like contested, and like I called him LeBron James with Sean Stewart's, is what I called him. He's LeBron James with Sean Stewart's. He has athleticism. He's 6'8". He can jump and he can play some defense around the rim. But he can just score. Like, he can just score. Now, I don't know his stats, like, off the top of my head. I really don't. So people could say, well, he shot 36% from the field. Maybe. But you know what? These highlights are unbelievable, and they had me caught up. But I think he's a 4-star for a reason. So, like, there's things that he needs to improve on, right? Like, I didn't see much of him using his left hand in the videos I saw. That's something he's got to work on, the offhand. But when it comes to that strong hand, man, he gets to that right hand is GG's. He can score into the rim or pull up or catch and shoot from three.
And we've seen 4-stars work out at Duke. I mean, that's not a write-off when you hear that. I mean, this is a guy that's obviously somebody that this coaching staff wanted to invest in and develop along the way. I'm excited to see him going. All right, let's get back to Dame Sarr, who we talked about on Friday's show, you and I, and now the weekend has come and gone. You've been able, as you mentioned, on your YouTube channel, people can go see a breakdown that you have of his game. You were excited about him when we talked on Friday. Now you've gotten a chance to watch him a little bit. What's changed?
I mean, I just think he's solidified. He's going to be top 5, not top 3 in the NBA draft. I think Cam Boozer, like, he is like the guy that, he has the name to attach himself with. Dame Sarr, dude, he's just got the goods. Like, he's a little raw. I say in the breakdown, there's like his legs buckle one defense possession because he doesn't have like the natural strength yet. He'll be in the weight room for Duke and he'll continue to get bigger and stronger. But my SGA comparison, I'm going to stand on that. Like he just reminds me of SGA with the ball in his hands. And I didn't know this, but I watched his interview with Emmanuel Dillity on the Brotherhood podcast, and he said he takes his game after SGA. And I'm like, I can see that. Like he just moves like that. And he's 6'6", 180. And I said SGA was the same exact size and weight when he was his 1 year at Kentucky, but he plays offensively, he plays bigger than that. Like he gets bumps. He seems like a little string bean, but when he gets in the lane, he'll finish through contact. And he's doing that in EuroLeague. EuroLeague's more physical, arguably, than the NBA sometimes. And he's doing that against grown men. So I think the physicality of college won't really faze him. The more I watch him and the breakdown that I saw, the more I think he's going to be a predominant ball handler for Duke. Like I just think he will be more of a point guard type of guy for Duke.
I'm very interested in what you'll say here. I liked listening to that conversation as well that Sarr had with Emmanuel Dillity. Again, power play from Duke, that this guy's on a visit. We're still a couple of days away from the world knowing he's coming to Duke, but he's told us he's all in. So let's sit down and do a podcast. Let's get this go. That's epic from Duke there. But Sarr talking about, his Italian roots and growing up as a soccer player, first and foremost, and soccer being so much of his life and background and where he's from. You've got a lot of soccer connections in your family as well, Jordan. Like, can you see that translation with how he moves?
Yeah, you can see the fluid motion with like the way he can get low and the way he's on balance, like with the embracing contact. It's just, you can see the soccer balance. And that's a great segue to tell like the kids that are watching this, play multi-sports in high school. Do not listen to anybody that tells you to play one sport, play 2 or 3. And you see why like it's good to have that upbringing. Like the guy, that was his first sport. He got better at basketball, but you see the soccer tendencies. And so I can see it, and he's just going to get better, man. Like I love him with what he can be as a pro prospect and what he can be at Duke. And like I said, he'll be, I guess, labeled as a wing for Duke, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was like just hypothetically like Cayden Boozer, Caleb Foster, and him on the court together. And either Boozer or Foster or both are in the corners. Just let Dame Sarr and Cam Boozer play 2-man game while Cayden Boozer and Caleb Foster play in the
chilling.
Yeah, because he's just that good with the ball in his hands, and he's so good moving without the basketball too. Like he has a high basketball IQ, and you can see exactly why Duke wanted him as bad as they did.
I mean, it hasn't even been a week since he committed, and you're love bombing this guy already. I mean, the wheels are turning, JJ. The wheels are turning with Dame Sarr. Like he's going to be good. Obviously, there's going to be some like I know he played at FC Barcelona, I know he played at Barcelona. I know people were like, that's pro league, and I agree with that. But college is just college, and it's different. So there's going to be some bumps around the road. I mean, I think he shot like 70% from the free throw line for Barcelona, and that's got to get better, right? That's one reason why Duke lost to Houston. They lost because they missed front end of 1-1, and so there's little things like that he needs to improve on. But in terms of overall what he can be in his 1 year at Duke, he checks all the boxes to me. Let's go. I love it. I'm excited to see this guy play. I'm excited with how this roster has shaped up. Let's take a look at that. We'll take a deep dive look at this Duke basketball roster and continue our conversation with J-Man after one more break here on today's show. Thanks so much for making Locked On Blue Devils your first listen and your first watch here today. For your second listen, make sure you go check out the Portal Show podcast. Locked On's very own Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. Continue to support everything that we've got going on within the Locked On podcast world, your team every day. I said it. J-Man's here with us. Jordan Mann breaking down this Duke basketball team ahead of the upcoming season. And we were wondering what Cedric Coward would ultimately decide to do. We were wondering who would go to the transfer portal, who would go off to the NBA draft. We now know kind of what this team is going to look like, what the roster looks like for the Blue Devils, Jay. And we've got the scholarship chart up now on the screen for those watching us here on YouTube. As it stands, 13 names for this Duke basketball team going into the new season. What do you make of the squad?
Yeah, I mean, last time I was on, I called Cedric Coward on here and told him, no, don't go to the draft, and he didn't listen to me. So what I think of this squad, I mean, I think that's kind of what to expect. Like, I think Duke's done. If Duke lands somebody else, it's probably going to be a preferred. Well, they're not walk-ons anymore, I don't think, but a guy that, won't play. He's a roster filler. So what you see is kind of what you get. And honestly, like, I'm okay with it. It's not even a complaint because it's out of Duke's hands. Duke trying to get Cedric Coward, who's going to be 22 years old, is the age. Like, you want to always have like a little bit older group, a mesh of 5-star talented kids and older guys. And Duke had that with Cedric Coward, but he left, so Duke had to pivot. And look, if you're going to go young, you might as well get a young guy that plays professional basketball at one of the highest levels in the world. So that's a fine plan B with Dame Sarr. So I like it. I like it. It's just like I've talked about on this show, JJ, that Duke has some question marks with guys. It's just, can they solidify their spots? As much as we want to say they'll take that leap, can they take that leap?
Yeah, I mean, easier said than done. You look at this chart that we've got on the screen, color-coded by class. So to your point, 5 freshmen there, 5 spots in green, really jumping off the screen for people. You look at last year's squad, Duke relied a whole lot on the leadership and the experience of guys like Mason Gillis and Sion James coming into the equation. Malik Brown had been in college for 2 years. They had their own guy in the locker room in Tyrese Proctor. In some ways, it looks like there's not as much experience on this Duke basketball team, but given how much the likes of Isaiah Evans and Pat Gongba played this past season, and then you already have Foster and Brown, I think there's the argument to be had that they're kind of similar in that experience, both than they were a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Like, that is very valid. I think my question mark, JJ, is just with Caleb, the backcourt of Caleb Foster and Cayden Boozer, because obviously Cayden is a young buck, right? Like, he has to learn. And Caleb Foster, though he'll be a junior, it's well documented his struggles as a sophomore, went from starting to literally not playing in some games. And so it's just, though he is a junior and experienced, can he be a leader? Because he struggled with adversity, throughout his freshman and sophomore year. So it's just like, when that happens again for him, not only can he overcome it, but can he help a Cayden Boozer overcome his struggles early as a freshman? So that's just kind of like my question mark, is the leadership and the productivity of Caleb Foster. I hope to God that he succeeds, because he deserves it. He's been through the gauntlet of fire at Duke for his 2 years, and you saw him come out of it at the end of this past year. And so I just hope he can be consistent for his sake junior year, and that'll just help Duke, obviously, as a team next season.
Tomorrow's the deadline for players in the NBA draft that want to make sure they can hold on to their college basketball eligibility. There are guys that are in the transfer portal still. Duke's not really tied to anybody, but we've been surprised before. I'm with you, Jay. If there is a move to be made, maybe it is for another veteran backcourt piece if Duke could find. But then again, when you look at what Duke's just brought in with Sarr, and you feeling pretty comfortable with him being on the ball, adding Wilkins to your class, I know that's not necessarily a backcourt piece. It's becoming a harder and harder sell to make out there for folks that are experienced. Jack Scott has 67 games to his name at Princeton in his college career, man, but I don't know that that's the direction we want to go necessarily.
Yeah, Jack Scott. I mean, we need to do a Locked On episode just of Jack Scott and talk about
I've got the stats ready to go there on the screen.
You do? Look at you pulling it up. But no, that is – he's played a lot of games, but he will be a guy, that Duke's going to post a GPA graphic, and we're going to thank Jack Scott for that GPA. So that's what he's there for. And it would be crazy to see who Duke would – like, they're not going to pick anybody out of like a name we know for 14 or 15. But we saw PJ Haggerty. I'm just bringing this up because it's funny that these guys are they're overshooting what they think they deserve, and so now they're getting less money than what they would have gotten initially. And PJ Haggerty wanted $4 to $5 million, or his dad did. He's going to get like 2.5 at Kansas State, and all along Memphis gave him or was offering more money before he even entered the portal. So it's just like you have those type of dudes that will find homes weirdly in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Tough luck, man. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I'm talking about him. You know, he had to settle at Kansas State for $2.5 million, and here I am.
To your point, the grass isn't always greener. Like that, they've got to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that. We've seen it already with football, and now we're seeing it some with basketball, and it's going to continue to happen. But it is funny that I'm talking about a kid that, you know, is going to get ho-hum $2.5 million, and I'm worried about getting exercise in my cookout tray if my car's going to go through or not.
Oh, that's amazing. Jordan, I appreciate you being on the show once again here today. Glad that you had a good weekend. Glad we're starting off this new week of Locked On Blue Devils right and together. You've got good content, though, that I want people to be aware of. Plug your work.
Yeah, J-Man's Takes Twitter account. YouTube is J-Man_, where you can find the Dame Sarr player breakdown. Sebastian Wilkins will be out very soon as well. BJ Lil J Shows, the podcast. It's also on my YouTube channel, and we'll probably have something actually coming up this week or next week because Duke's giving us enough content to give some sort of all-season, you know, recap what's happened. So stay tuned for that as well.
All right, Jordan, we'll do this again soon, okay?
See you, buddy.
All right, that's Jordan Mann joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Always appreciate his time, thoughts, and insight with us on the show. Excited to have him back on the program again in the near future. That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.